Hey guys, what's up? MadSeason here, back with episode 2 of Enrage Timer. This is a series where I go over interesting major incidents, events, or drama in the game's history, either inside or outside the game. In the last episode, I went over Kha'Zix's rampage on Stormwind, but what if I were to tell you that he was child's play compared to what I'm going to talk about in this video? While Kha'Zix took out tens of thousands of players, something else was claiming hundreds of thousands and possibly even millions more. Something so bad that, even though it happened in the virtual world, it's used as a real-world model to help understand the spread of real-life diseases. I'm of course talking about what is probably the most infamous incident in the game's history, and that's the Corrupted Blood incident. In a September of 2005 patch in Vanilla World of Warcraft, a new raid was added. It was called zul'gurub, and it was a raid focused on the Gurubashi troll tribe of the Stranglethorn Vale zone. It held 10 bosses total, some optional. The head honcho of the raid was their god himself, Hakar the Soulflayer. Being the crown jewel of the raid, it was a very tough fight that required very careful positioning and coordination from all 20 raid members. And that was because of one of his abilities, Corrupted Blood. This was a debuff he randomly put on players, and it had two important properties. First was, it was a damage over time spell that slowly drained the player's life. And more importantly, it spread to nearby players and even player pets. So, if you were a good raider, if you contracted the disease, you had to maintain a good distance or you would immediately infect the entire raid and most likely cause a wipe. But if you were a good troll, your goal was much different. As I mentioned, this disease also targeted pets, and back then, if you dismissed your pet and resummoned it later, it would have retained any debuffs it had back when you originally dismissed it. So, people would get the Corrupted Blood on their pet, dismiss it, and then go to a highly populated area such as the auction house in a faction city and then call out their pet to infect everyone there. And it wasn't just ill-intentioned players. Some people just summoned their pets to switch them out at a stable master or whatever, and they had no idea of the havoc they caused. Everyone near the pet contracted the disease, including NPCs. The lower level players died instantly. The higher level players who could take a few hits panicked and wandered off, spreading the disease further throughout the city, and within minutes the hubs looked like this. Kha'Zix was quite the pain, but he's nothing compared to the Corrupted Blood. As soon as the first case of this was made public, every single faction city on every single server became a target for infection, but the Ironforge and Orgrimmar cities in particular were prime targets since they were the main hubs at the time, and they held the most players. It was an epidemic and entire cities became graveyards. Kha'Zix's kill count was probably in the hundreds of thousands over the course of his stay. I wouldn't be surprised if the Corrupted Blood claimed millions. It was that bad. And to make matters worse, unlike Kha'Zix, GMs couldn't simply delete the problem to make it go away. Everyone had the debuff, including important NPCs. There was no deleting anything, and even still, players could just respread it in a moment's notice. Cities became uninhabitable, people temporarily or permanently dropped the game out of frustration, and it was more than 2 weeks later in an October patch to where it was changed to where pets could no longer get the debuff, and just for good measure, the debuff couldn't exist outside of the raid at all. But the damage was done, and to this day, it remains as probably the biggest glitch or otherwise unintended gameplay mechanic in gaming history. It was the MMO equivalent of the Black Plague. Some good did come from it though. As I said, funny enough, it was used as research for the real world. People studied its progression, and it's a pretty popular example of disease spread, and it was even compared to the whole 2009 swine flu pandemic. Although many players were outraged and quit the game, a lot of people actually found it to be an interesting and fun experience. And Blizzard themselves recreated it in spirit with the whole zombie infestation event for the Wrath of the Lich King expansion launch. Although unconventional, it's an aspect of the sandbox nature of MMOs in the sense that anything could happen. Nowadays, everything is restricted or has fail-safes to prevent stuff like this. It makes things more user-friendly, but you also lose in important aspects in MMOs, I think. But that's it, I guess. That's the Corrupted Blood Plague incident in its entirety. Pretty wild stuff. I hope you found the video interesting or entertaining. Like it if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next episode of Enrage Timer. Peace.